Imagine the chaos of two massive Boeing 747s colliding on a foggy runway. That's the grim reality of the Tenerife Airport disaster. Today, we're going to delve into the darkest day in aviation history, a tragedy that unfolded on the misty airstrips of Tenerife Airport. This disaster, which claimed the lives of 583 souls, remains the deadliest aviation collision ever recorded. It's a chilling tale of how a series of unfortunate events can spiral into an unthinkable catastrophe. On one side of this deadly dance were two commercial airlines. The first was KLM, the flag carrier airline of the Netherlands, and the other, Pan Am, an American aviation giant. Both were operating Boeing 747s, the colossal jumbo jets that rule our skies even today. Now picture this. It's March 27, 1977. Tenerife's Los Rodeos Airport, a small airport unaccustomed to handling jumbo jets, is bursting at the seams. The airport, overwhelmed with diverted flights due to a terrorist incident at Gran Canaria Airport, is shrouded in a dense blanket of fog. Communication, the very lifeblood of aviation safety, is strained. Radio signals are crossing and messages are misunderstood. The fog, thick and relentless, obscures the view of the pilots and the control tower. It's a recipe for disaster, a simmering pot of chaos and confusion. In the midst of all this, two Boeing 747s, one from KLM and the other from Pan Am, find themselves on a collision course. The KLM plane, eager to take off, races down the runway. Unbeknownst to them, the Pan Am plane is still taxiing on the same runway, shrouded in the fog. The stage is set for the unimaginable. In this catastrophe, 583 lives were tragically lost. So, how did such a disaster occur? As we journey through the unseen catastrophe, we'll unravel the threads of the Tenerife Airport disaster and seek to understand how a series of miscommunications and unfortunate events led to the deadliest aviation collision in history. Clear communication is key in aviation. Unfortunately, it was absent during the Tenerife disaster. Imagine a bustling airport where hundreds of flights take off and land every day. Now, picture a scenario where the pilots and air traffic control are not on the same wavelength. That's exactly what happened on that fateful day at Tenerife. The KLM pilot, the Pan Am pilot, and the control tower, all three pivotal players in this tragic game of miscommunication. The stakes? The lives of hundreds of innocent passengers. Language barriers played a sinister role in this disaster. The KLM pilot, a Dutch national, conversed in English, a language not native to him. The control tower too communicated in English, albeit with a heavy Spanish accent. The Pan Am pilot, an American, was the only native English speaker. This linguistic diversity, while usually a symbol of global unity, became a recipe for disaster on that day. Miscommunication was not limited to language barriers alone. Ambiguous phrases and terminology added fuel to this fire of confusion. The KLM pilot misinterpreted the control tower's instructions, believing he had clearance for takeoff, while in reality, he was merely cleared for taxiing to the runway. The Pan Am pilot, on the other hand, was instructed to exit the runway at the third taxiway. He missed the turn due to poor visibility and continued down the runway, unknowingly heading towards a collision course with the KLM plane. Air traffic control's instructions, layered with heavy accents and peppered with ambiguous phrases, were the final nails in the coffin. The lack of clear, concise, and universally understood communication indirectly led to the deadliest aviation collision in history. The tragedy of Tenerife is a stark reminder that clear communication is not just about speaking the same language. It's about understanding and being understood regardless of accents, phraseology, or background noise. So, how could this miscommunication have been avoided? The answer to this question could potentially save countless lives in the future and ensure that the Tenerife disaster remains an isolated incident in the annals of aviation history. In hindsight, it's clear that certain measures could have prevented this disaster. The Tenerife Airport disaster wasn't just a heart-wrenching catastrophe that claimed hundreds of lives. It was also a stark reminder of the paramount role of clear communication, patience, and adherence to established protocols in aviation. Communication, in its simplest form, is the exchange of information. Yet, in the high-stakes world of aviation, it becomes infinitely more complex and crucial. Pilots, air traffic controllers, crew members, Everyone involved in a flight's journey must be on the exact same page. A single misheard word, a misunderstood instruction, can lead to unthinkable consequences. The Tenerife disaster is a testament to this, a haunting example of how miscommunication can lead to tragedy. Now let's talk about patience. It's often said that patience is a virtue, and in aviation, it's a lifesaver. Rushing, be it to take off, land, or make a decision, can cloud judgment, leading to mistakes. In Tenerife, a lack of patience played a significant role in the collision. Last but not least, there's the matter of following proper protocols. In the aviation industry, these protocols aren't just guidelines or suggestions. They are the difference between life and death. In Tenerife, the deviation from established protocols was a pivotal factor that led to the disaster. However, it's crucial to remember that the Tenerife disaster isn't just a grim chapter in aviation history. It's a catalyst for change. The catastrophe led to significant alterations in international aviation regulations, with an increased focus on improving communication, enhancing patience, and ensuring strict adherence to protocols. It served as a wake-up call, a loud, clear signal that more needed to be done to prevent such tragedies in the future. The Tenerife disaster was a wake-up call for the aviation industry, but what can we as individuals learn from it? Well, the lessons are clear. Whether you're a seasoned pilot, a budding aviator, or simply a passenger, remember the importance of clear communication, patience, and adherence to protocols. These aren't just words of advice. They're the pillars of safe aviation. They're the lessons learned from a tragedy that should never have happened. The Tenerife disaster is a stark reminder of the importance of clear communication and patience. This chilling event, the deadliest aviation collision in history, is not just a story of a catastrophic plane crash. It's a lesson in the significance of understanding and respect for rules, patience, and above all, clear communication. In our daily lives, we often find ourselves in situations where we must make decisions quickly. The pressure can be overwhelming. But as the Tenerife disaster has shown us, rushing can lead to disastrous consequences. Patience, in contrast, can be a lifesaver. It's about taking a moment to think, to evaluate the situation, and to make the best possible decision based on the information at hand. It's a virtue that can save lives, whether in the cockpit of a plane or in the driver's seat of a car. The Tenerife tragedy also underscores the importance of clear, concise, and accurate communication. Misunderstandings can create chaos, especially in critical situations. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it. Clarity in communication is essential in all walks of life, from personal relationships to professional settings. We must strive to express ourselves in a way that leaves no room for doubt or misinterpretation, to ensure we are understood exactly as we intended. Furthermore, the disaster reminds us of the significance of adhering to rules. Rules, protocols, and guidelines are usually established for a reason, to ensure safety and order. Ignoring them, intentionally or not, can lead to devastating consequences. In our daily lives, it's easy to dismiss rules as inconvenient or unnecessary. But the truth is, they're often there to protect us. From this tragedy, we are reminded of the value of every human life and the importance of safety above all else. It's a lesson we must never forget. The Tenerife disaster should serve as a constant reminder that in every situation, whether we're at 35,000 feet or on solid ground, patience, clear communication, and respect for rules are not just important, but vital. The Tenerife Airport disaster was a tragedy that shook the world. A cataclysmic collision, a convergence of ill-fated circumstances, and a vivid reminder of the imperativeness of clear communication, patience, and unyielding adherence to rules and protocols. The disaster unfolded on the runway of Los Rodeos Airport, now known as Tenerife North Airport, on that fateful day in March '77. Two Boeing 747s, one belonging to KLM, the other to Pan Am, collided in a devastating explosion, marking the deadliest incident in the history of aviation. The causes: a lethal cocktail of miscommunications, impatience, and a disregard for established protocols. The KLM pilot, eager to take off, misinterpreted air traffic control instructions and commenced takeoff without clearance, while the Pan Am plane was still on the runway. The result was a catastrophe that claimed the lives of 583 people. The lessons learned from this disaster were profound. It underscored the dire need for clear communication, not just in aviation, but in all walks of life. Miscommunication can lead to misunderstandings, and in the case of Tenerife, it led to a disaster of unprecedented scale. Patience, too, emerged as a vital trait. The eagerness of the KLM pilot to take off, despite not having explicit clearance, was a contributing factor to the tragedy. Hence, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a necessity. The disaster also highlighted the importance of adherence to rules and protocols. These are not mere guidelines, but life-saving measures designed to prevent such calamities. In the wake of the disaster, aviation authorities worldwide reinforced the importance of strict adherence to established procedures, leading to significant improvements in air safety. The Tenerife Airport disaster serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of impatience, miscommunication, and non-compliance with rules. It's a lesson that transcends the realm of aviation, applicable to all aspects of life. As we remember the Tenerife disaster, let us strive to learn from it and ensure that such a tragedy never repeats itself.